Thanks for joining us here on The Drive every Tuesday live on the HN Network. I've missed you guys, so I'm glad to be back. It's the holiday season and we've got a lot to talk about today. Surgical innovation, risky behaviors, and that led me to think about my mindful minute on my drive here. And I thought even the lady that runs the positive motivational talk show has her moments where she's not so positive. And this week might have been one of those weeks. And I thought to myself, instead of rushing around and trying to make all the deadlines that I have perceived in my mind, and maybe texting while I'm driving or answering the phone when I shouldn't be, or yelling at people that really don't deserve to be yelled at, i.e. my family, maybe I should practice what I preach and take a mindful moment and wheel it back in. So, the holidays are a short-lived period of time, and I bet most of us after the holidays go, oh, that was a letdown, I didn't get to do what I wanted, I didn't get to see who I wanted, etc., etc. So for this week, we're going to have a little experiment together. We're going to stop, take a breath, when we find ourselves ramping up into that mode where we feed the wrong wolf. Whatever wolf you feed grows. We've said it before. So we're going to feed the wolf of positivity. We're not going to feed the wolf of negativity, and we're going to stay in a state of gratitude. Oprah Winfrey has said it many times. When you're in a state of gratitude, there's less room for fears and worries to creep in. So that's the Mindful Minute today. I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Corvo, the chairman of surgery at St. Mary's Hospital. Welcome, Dr. Corvo. Thanks so much for joining me and taking time out of your busy schedule.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. This is fantastic. Appreciate it.
So what I sent out in my promotion this morning was a little bit about how I got to know about you. I was at the Fairfield Ludlow High School Risky Behavior Conversation, which was sort of a mandatory talk for freshmen and their parents.
Yes.
And I, at my age, we won't say what that is, I think we know everything. But I had to say that your message was so compelling. I needed you to come on so we could share it because it lives on the HN Network thereafter and it lives on YouTube and it was really spectacular. But what's more impressive is when I actually picked up the phone to call you, you called me right back. And when I did my homework, I realized that there's so much more to your background and to your whole journey. So before we get into how we're going to avoid risky holiday behaviors that could impinge upon our 2017 goals, I want you to tell the audience a little bit about your background. You went to UConn on an academic scholarship?
Yes.
Let's start there.
Sure. I'm not really sure when I decided to go to medical school and become a surgeon. If you talk to my parents, they will tell you it started with a squid that I tried taking apart with a dissecting kit when I was little.
A real squid?
The kind you buy in a fish store that's designed to be dissected. Before that, I was taking things apart and I could put them back together again. I could not put the squid back together again, and something clicked, I guess. And my parents realized I probably wanted to be a surgeon after that. So I did all the typical pre-med things, good grades in high school, college, etc. Applied to lots of schools in the Northeast. I grew up in Brooklyn and Staten Island and knew where I wanted to be. UConn was one of those schools.
Yeah, it's a good school.
It's a very good school. A lot of people have said that if there was like an Ivy League for state schools, it would be in that category. Got accepted to a bunch of schools. UConn gave me a full scholarship for medical school and came to Connecticut and have been here ever since.
That's pretty impressive. And so tell me a little bit about your work at St. Mary's and how you got there, because you're a nationally recognized speaker, award-winning, you're an author. Give the audience a little background so they understand that, beyond a medical scholarship, you really have some chutzpah behind you.
Sure. After medical school, I went to Stanford Hospital, did my residency there, and then went back to UConn to do a fellowship, which is extra special training for trauma and critical care. After that, I went back to Stanford, stayed there in private practice, doing general surgery, minimally invasive surgery, trauma and critical care for about 15 years or so. And then got a call one day from the outgoing chairman of surgery at St. Mary's. He was moving on to another position in his career, and because of our work with each other on some state and national level committees, he thought I'd be a really good candidate for being a chairman at St. Mary's. Went to St. Mary's, absolutely loved the place, loved the people that I interviewed with, and I've been there for just a little over 3 years now.
So I also read a little bit about the robotics and some of the innovations that you've developed over the past few years for us here in the state of Connecticut. Now, I myself had a gallbladder surgery, but I don't think it was as innovative as what you do, which is with a robot and one little incision?
We can take out your gallbladder through an incision that I can completely hide inside your belly button. 2 or 3 months later, there's no scar at all because everything's hidden inside the curves of the belly button.
So what does it take to bring something like that to the state of Connecticut? I mean, where does that come from?
Sure. That particular robot comes from a company that makes them. The name of the company is Intuitive.
I would hope so.
Yes. And the name of the robot is a Da Vinci robot. Not a lot of people realize it, but Leonardo da Vinci actually built the first robot. He called it a mechanical knight, and they named their robots after Da Vinci. The idea behind the robot is that with traditional open surgery, there's a big incision, which usually means lots of pain, long-term recovery. Over the last 20 years or so, we started doing things with a minimally invasive technique, which I personally don't like that term, but everybody else understands it, so we talk like that. And
what would be a better term?
Minimal incision.
Minimal incision.
But it's not as sexy as minimally invasive.
Yeah.
So a deep, dirty secret, please don't tell anybody I'm saying this.
All right, well, I won't. We're in the vault.
Yes, cone of silence, sort of. A deep, dirty secret about laparoscopic surgery, minimally invasive surgery, is that people are three-dimensional. And when we do traditional laparoscopic surgery, the screen that we're looking at is really nothing more than a flat, high-definition screen.
Ooh.
And we really lose a lot of that depth perception.
Yes.
We have tricks to make up for it, but using a trick to make up for something while you're operating on somebody never feels right. The other thing about minimally invasive surgery is the instruments are all relatively straight and stiff.
Right.
So when I talk to medical students about minimally invasive surgery, I tell them, picture wearing a cast that goes from here to here. And then the only thing that you can do is have 2 pencil-like instruments in your hands. And your goal is to pick up a piece of rice or a pea. That's what laparoscopic surgery is like. With the robot, it has these wrists that are built into it, and the motion of the wrist is almost twice as much as a human hand motion is.
Because you have lack of mobility
Correct.
with these casts on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So with the robot, I can almost go twice as far around, bend completely backwards and forwards, and between the legitimate 3-dimensional depth perception, high definition, and the increased mobility, we can do things minimally invasive with the robot that you just cannot do laparoscopically.
So are you running the robot?
Yes. It is really the world's coolest, biggest video game. You're sitting at a console about the size of the chair that you're in. There's 2 actuators. Sorry. There are 2 actuators, and you said you'd tell me if I dropped the mic, and you didn't. There are 2 actuators in front of you that you put your hands into. You look at this oversized set of goggles, and the cables that attach that console to the robot are no different than the cables you have in your home that attach your printer to your computer to your TV monitor.
So it's like a VR experience, almost.
It is very close to a VR experience.
Very close.
Yeah.
What kind of training? I mean, because talk about Da Vinci, you guys really have to be somewhat artistic or beyond technically savvy, I would imagine.
So part of the reason the company says that they came up with the name Intuitive is because once you're sitting in front of it, if you already have some basic skills, everything from that point forward is really intuitive for you. You really need to be an accomplished minimal invasive surgeon already. And then it's really just learning how to use their specialized piece of equipment. We have a training console and a game that we set up where we have almost like a mini Olympic competition with residencies throughout the state. We literally have the
Doctors on Wii?
Oh, even better than that. Doctors on the Da Vinci robot with the game of operations sitting there so that they are using the robot to operate on the game of operation. And we score people, we time them, we give out prizes. It's a lot of fun.
That sounds pretty cool.
It's very cool.
So beyond robots, I hate to ask this question, but I'm going to ask it. What's trending in surgery?
That's a good question. So please don't hate to ask it.
Okay.
I think the biggest thing now, everyone is aware of the opioid epidemic that's taking over the country. It's horrible. And there's...
Why is that? Well, how did that happen?
I don't know.
Okay.
From the things I read, some people just, can get hold of them, and they're at a party and they share them, and people get hooked. There is some evidence that almost up to 10% of people end up needing a narcotic pain medication for a legitimate reason, like they're in a car accident, they need surgery. Of course, that hurts. They need pain control afterwards. And some people that have addictive personalities become addicted to the narcotic pain medicine that we give them with all good intentions.
Yeah.
And then when they don't need it anymore, they still want it, and they become addicts.
Right.
So a thing that's trending right now is hospitals across the country have figured out...
Poor doctor keeps losing his mic.
Have figured out, let's try this. Hospitals across the country have figured out ways to do major surgery with absolutely zero narcotic pain medicine. So in Connecticut, we have this Connecticut Surgical Quality Collaborative. It's all 28 hospitals.
That's something you started, if I read correctly.
Scott Elner and myself started it several years ago.
Okay.
It's all 28 hospitals, and the thing that we are doing completely goes against any kind of tradition you would think of. Most of the time, hospitals are trying to compete with each other for business and for patients. We've figured out a way to get these competing hospitals to actually help each other out, so that if we're at two different hospitals that are normally competing with each other, if you've figured out a way to do something better at these meetings that we have, you're completely open to share that with me so that my patients now do better. So one of the things that a lot of hospitals in the state have figured out, and St. Mary's has been doing this a little over a year now, we're really taking advantage of two different medications so that I can literally do a large intestinal cancer surgery on you and not give you any narcotic pain medicine. One of the medications, I want you to picture going to the dentist and getting Novocaine. Yeah. But picture getting a Novocaine that lasts for 3 or 4 days. The other medicine, picture something like intravenous Tylenol, except it's 10 times stronger than regular Tylenol. It is as strong as morphine would be. So when we do these colon surgeries, we use the robot. The incisions are about 1/4 of an inch, and that's it. So right away, the pain is much less than a big incision. And when the patients get the pain medicine, they have this intravenous Tylenol, they have this Novocaine-like medicine, and these medicines work so well for pain control. Patients go home in 2 days instead of 7 days. Automatically means you're in the hospital for less time, less chance of catching an infection from someone else. And I've had patients go home and take 0 narcotics. They use an ice pack, they use extra strength Tylenol.
That is incredible. Now, did that happen almost immediately? How long has this collaborative been around? And how long did it take you to figure that out?
The collaborative itself has been around for about 3 years now. Okay. Slowly growing. It started out with a couple of little kernels of hospitals, and then other hospitals sort of joined on board.
Did they bring anything else to the table, your collaborative of hospitals, beyond this need for no pain meds, which is huge?
Yes. Yes. Different insurance companies, different medical societies are always trying to find ways to make things better and safer for their patients. Right now, a lot of hospitals are trying to figure out ways to get rid of infections that we have not been able to change in the last 10 or 20 years or so.
Like a MRSA.
Exactly like a MRSA. And then there's that infectious diarrhea called C. diff. It stands for something much longer. But we're figuring out ways to use medications that we haven't used in 20 years. The bacteria aren't used to those anymore, so now we're reusing them. We've learned that the typical way that we prep somebody's skin before surgery may not be as good as we thought it was, and now we're using different mixtures of things. So with this collaborative, any hospital that has really made great strides in one area is happy to share those strides with everyone else at the meetings, and every single hospital just gets a little bit better, and hopefully
well, 2 things.
the whole state is better.
I'm going to say, we talked offline about it's the best thing to avoid surgery, right? At all costs if you can. Probably St. Mary's doesn't want us to say that, but based on what we learned at the freshman forum, which we're going to talk about, you're the doctor that puts the kids back together after they've been drinking or texting, or your team of people, not necessarily you.
Right.
You're one of them. So I'm hoping that we're going to learn a lot about this, because this is one of the biggest reasons that I want to share with my audience. And I hope that all the great work you're doing in the collaborative will reflect in my insurance premium going down as a self-employed person. Okay, everybody, we're going to be right back with risky behaviors. This is the part I really want you to tune in, and I hope that while you're having a little downtime with your family, you're going to share it, because it was a big wow for me. It's The Drive here on the HN Network every Tuesday. Happy holidays, and be right back with us in a minute. Thanks so much.
I really wanted something that felt like a home. Coming from a big house, I wanted the feel of a home as opposed to a condo. New Canaan is 6 minutes down the road. New Canaan's a beautiful little town to walk around. I work in Westport. My commute is 20 minutes. It's close to Westchester, where my family is, so the location is ideal. There is no other townhome that compares in the area. This is where I want to be.
Give the gift of fitness to someone you love this holiday season for only $1 a day. Halo Fitness in New Canaan is now offering 1 year of fitness for only $365. Halo Fitness is a state-of-the-art fitness center located at Halo Studios in the heart of New Canaan, with ample free parking and brand new locker rooms. Keep someone you love healthy with a gift of fitness this holiday season. Halo Fitness Holiday Special available for purchase during the month of December only.
MrHandymanCT.com. Let our satisfied customers tell it.
I have called Mr. Handyman for every reason, every occasion, every broken item, every leak. They have bailed me out on many occasions, and I would recommend them to anyone.
For any project, large or small.
MrHandymanCT.com.
Have a sports injury or slip and fall that needs immediate care? Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care gives you direct access to an orthopedic specialist fast, without an appointment. Basketball, hockey, skiing, whatever the sports injury is, sprain or fracture, Coastal Ortho Express can help. Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care open Monday through Saturday, now in 2 locations. The iPark Building at 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk and 36 Old Kings Highway South in Darien. Or go to coastalorthoexpress.com, like them on Facebook.
When it comes to local entertainment, we've got it all.
From movies, local artists, etiquette, and more.
Watch HAN Arts and Leisure with me, Steve Coulter, and our Arts and Leisure editor, Sally Sanders, Mondays at 12:30, right here on the HAN Network.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Denise DiGrigoli here. I can't even say my name right today. What's going on? It's Denise DiGrigoli live on the HN Network every Tuesday, and I'm thankful that we get to spend this hour together. The Drive is about people, places, ideas, and things that move us forward mindfully and consciously. And we're talking to Dr. Corvo because I met him at the Fairfield Ludlow High School risky behavior conversation.
Yes.
And this is what I really want to talk about today, because it was a big wow for Troy and I, and much of the show is about moving forward or helping people move forward mindfully through whatever it is, our ideas, our organizations. And I thought your story was very compelling, but it's fair to say parents or the adults model the behavior for the children.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So if we're stressed out and we're texting, trying to get to the Gap to get a present, you know, and on Black Rock Turnpike, there's forever accidents this time of year.
Yes.
Right, and then, you know, that leaves us with a bad memory. So tell us a little bit about, you gave like a really great example of the football field and the texting.
Right.
Let's start with that.
Sure. So this meeting that you went to, both high schools in Fairfield do this. It's a mandatory meeting. The freshmen, it's called the Freshman Forum, have to go with their parents. And the idea is to talk about risky behaviors. Risky business is like the title of my talk. When we first did it, the only thing we really focused on was teenage drinking and driving, because that was the single biggest problem that kids were facing at the time. And it slowly morphed into, you know what, texting and driving for teenagers is actually a riskier behavior now than it's ever been before. More kids end up dying while they are texting and driving than while they are drinking and driving.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't know if it's because they finally got the message of don't drink and drive, or because it's just so easy to sort of text and they figure, well, I can multitask, I can text and drive. And it's probably easier, to go back to your example of modeling behavior, it's probably easy to see your parents drive and text than it is to see them drink and drive. So the kids very quickly realize, you know what, I saw mom do that and she's okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do it also. So the example of the football field is exactly the way I start the talk. I tell everyone in the audience that when I say go, I want them to just start texting somebody. I don't care who they text, I don't care what they write, I just want them to stop when I say stop.
All right, I'm going to do that right now live, because we can.
Because we can, perfect.
Right, and we are good. This is a fabulous example. Usually my husband is tuned in. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm going to text.
So when I say start, start texting. When I say stop, stop texting.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
Start. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds. Stop. So 5 seconds worth of driving at 55 miles an hour, your car has covered the distance of a football field. So think about how much you may have
And I
texted
wrote,
here.
I love you, and I'm live. And I meant to say on TV, but I didn't even get there.
That's actually pretty good. A lot of people like barely get out the name of the person they're going to text. But while you're looking down at your screen, think of all the things you could be hitting while you're on the highway doing 55 miles an hour. And that's the first way to grab everybody's attention while I'm giving the talk at the high schools.
Yeah, that grabbed mine. I was like, wow, that's pretty incredible. Okay, so and then you showed some compelling images that we don't have with us today of people you put back together, of like legs and really...
Yes. And a knife sticking out.
Knife sticking out of a throat and real life stuff.
Right.
So what kind of injuries have you seen? Let's just be real from kids. Like, what have you put back together?
Sure. Everything, you name it. I'm the general surgeon in charge of the whole trauma team, but we've had people who have come in who have literally their skulls split open with brain coming out. They don't do very well. We've put limbs back on. There are some times you can't, you have to amputate them. People have their chests cracked open. Almost anything you can think of is something that we've seen.
From texting? Or from drinking as well?
It's usually either texting or drinking, or I think the saddest is when the person who comes in as the patient is completely innocent in what's happening, and it was the drunk driver who ran the red light who now hit the innocent person who ends up paying the price for the drunk driver's actions.
So give the explanation, because I was trying to take notes when you were saying it that night, about alcohol and how it gets into your body, before we learn about how beer is wheat pea.
You just ruined the whole joke.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. So, during these freshman forum, you have two audiences. You have the students and you have the parents. And the reality is that everybody is there to try to impress upon the students how serious and how important the message is here. So what I try to do is make sure I've got a couple of stories that get the students' attention. So when I'm talking about alcohol, I want to do something for the students and for the parents. And what I explain is that the way our bodies work right now is we're breathing oxygen from the air, we're mixing that with sugar from the food that we eat. Each one of the cells in our bodies takes the oxygen and the sugar, throws it into a little reaction, and out of the other end of the reaction comes energy for our cells to do things, carbon dioxide, which we basically breathe out and comes out of our body, and then water, which we urinate out. If you take a yeast cell and do the exact same thing, oxygen from the air, sugar, not so much from food, but picture yeast being on a grape, and now sort of smashing the grapes together with the yeast on it, The yeast then eats the sugar, combines it with the oxygen, still creates the energy to survive, still creates the carbon dioxide, which comes out of the yeast cells, and then instead of urinating out water, they're basically urinating out alcohol. So when you're drinking a beer, you are quite literally drinking yeast pee. Right, and then you have to wait for people to giggle. And then the follow-up joke is, the bubbles that are in the beer?
Yeah.
Yeast farts. That's exactly what it is.
And all the kids are locked in at that point.
And the kids are locked in and they get it, and the parents also sort of get it. And then I sort of up the science a little bit and talk about pretty much like every wine is made the way I just described, which means that every wine comes out as a sparkling wine to start with. And if you make sparkling wine in California, you have to call it sparkling wine. If you do that in the Champagne regions of France, you're allowed to call it champagne. And that sort of gets the parents' attention.
So, okay, what's the reality? Like, how many drinks per hour? What makes somebody drunk and...
Right. So your liver is probably the first line of defense against getting you drunk or sick when you eat or drink something. If you take in little enough alcohol that your liver can completely filter it, you won't get drunk. Once you take in a drop more than your liver can handle, that extra drop spills over into your system, and when it gets to your brain, you start getting drunk.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
Yep. Everybody's a little different. It sort of depends on your genetic makeup, how efficient your liver is, what else you're asking your liver to do at the same time, how big you are.
Yeah.
But most people would talk about the equivalent of like 1 ounce of alcohol per hour is about the absolute maximal limit that you could do without getting drunk.
Right.
Average person, just a little bit more than that, starts to get them drunk. Part of the freshman forum evening is we also have a police captain there. And between the two of us, we make it very, very clear that you can be chemically drunk and still pass a sobriety test. But if you're chemically drunk, you shouldn't be driving. And then the flip side is also true. You could fail a sobriety test, but be absolutely confident that you're not drunk, because legally drunk and medically drunk have two different sets of implications.
So you're drunk, beyond being, slowed reaction and vision, what other things create these accidents that get people into the emergency room over to the surgeon?
Sure. The thing about alcohol is it slows down the way all of the systems in your body work. Some of the first ones to slow down is your fine motor control. So people start to slur. Their vision gets a little bit blurry. Their reaction time slows down. That's usually when people are driving and getting into an accident. Once things get worse than that and their large motor muscle control stops working, they are literally fall down drunk, and those people just can't be, they don't have the ability to even drive the car in the first place.
Hopefully.
Beyond that, hopefully. Beyond that, what ends up happening is your breathing slows down to the point where sometimes you end up not breathing at all, on a ventilator, and sometimes literally drinking yourself to death.
That's really something. So in the so even though we know you have great resources at St. Mary's, if we we want to avoid the surgeon in this particular segment.
Yes.
Maybe that's the third segment. We're going to talk about why we need to go to the surgeon. But what would you tell people that are listening, obviously the parents and the adults, that they can do to be modeling better behavior, so that, because it's us, the parents, that are crying in the emergency room.
Yes.
Right. It's us that are just freaking out.
Yes.
So what can we do for this holiday season to help people slow down or think about it differently beyond just the joke that it's wheat pea?
Right. Probably realize that there's absolutely no good reason whatsoever, no good excuse whatsoever to be drinking and driving. If you know you're going to a party, have somebody be a designated driver and make sure the designated driver does their job, because their job is to make a safe environment for everyone else that they're with. There's also really no good reason to be texting while you're driving. There's like no message that is that important that it has to get through right now. Almost every car now has a Bluetooth hookup with your phone, and if you have to get hold of somebody, make a phone call. That's a little bit easier. Another thing that has nothing to do with the drinking and driving part, but I also make a big deal of when we give this talk, is seatbelts. For some reason, lots of people think that it is better to not wear a seatbelt. And their argument is, well, if I get into a car accident, I want to be thrown clear of the accident. And yes, I love your face. That makes no sense at all. If the car is doing 60 miles an hour, when it hits a tree, if you get thrown clear, you are doing 60 miles an hour.
Through the glass.
Through the glass. And why would you want your head to hit the windshield at 60 miles an hour? Why would you want your body to leave the car and then drag along the pavement at 60 miles an hour? It makes no sense at all. Cars these days are designed so that the car takes the impact. And the only way that works for you is if you are in the car surrounded by your airbags, your seatbelts. Wear your seatbelt every single time.
Even if you're going around the corner to the mail?
Even if you're going around the corner to the mail. Statistics are funny sort of things. Most accidents happen within about a mile of your house. So, yes, even while you're going just to get the mail. Going to the drugstore. Yeah.
I'm going to tell a little secret before we go on to our next segment, which is growing up in the Berkshires, we had no seatbelts. And, you know, we flip-flopped around in the back seat like loose sardines, and that's the way. So my daughter is always like, Mom, put your seatbelt on.
Good.
If you're going around the corner.
Right.
We're here learning how to break our habits and to move forward so that we can all be better. Okay, it's The Drive live every Tuesday on the HN Network. We'll be right back with Dr. Corvo, and when it's good to visit a surgeon. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys.
My company developed Tranquility Mind and Body Wellness Spa 13 years ago. The building had 2 huge Olympic-sized pools in it. Builders would come, take a look to develop, and no one really knew what to do with it. Milford Bank saw our vision, and they jumped right in. They were the bank that we needed to come behind this hometown project. My name is Tina DeNaples, and I choose to bank with Milford Bank.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Want to reach new heights in your fitness and health goals? Find what you're looking for at Elevation Spin, Train, and TRX in Georgetown, Connecticut. Elevation Spin gives you purposeful spinning workouts inspired by the road. We encourage monitoring of heart rate and energy zones. Elevation also offers customized personal training with dedicated professionals passionate about helping you reach your goals. And let us motivate you to reach greater performance and functionality with TRX suspension training, using your own body weight for an incredible dynamic workout. Located at 4 Old Mill Road in Georgetown, call Elevation at 203-544-9503 or visit elevationspintraintrx.com for more.
Why cook it all this holiday? Avoid the stress of holiday planning and let your friends at Walter Stewart's in New Canaan do the heavy lifting. Whether you're looking to fill in with a few crowd-pleasing sides or you want us to prepare your whole feast, from cranberry sauce to pumpkin pie, we're ready to simplify your holiday. Place your order from our holiday menu and spend your holiday the right way, relaxing. Our fresh prepared holiday meals to go are designed with your busy schedule in mind. Visit us at stewartsmarket.com or at 229 Elm Street, New Canaan.
For unique and special holiday gifts, come to Touch of Sedona, a spiritual boutique located in the heart of Ridgefield, Connecticut. We have plenty of unique pieces, including Native American and equestrian jewelry, crystals, candles, incense, and books, as well as an ever-changing showcase of artists, intuitive practitioners, healers, and lots more. Happy holidays from Touch of Sedona, 452 Main Street in Ridgefield. Visit us today. Open 7 days a week.
Give your day a jumpstart with the latest news, sports, weather, and more on Coffee Break, live on the HAN Network, weekdays at 11 a.m. Connecticut news doesn't get any more local than on Coffee Break. If you're watching this broadcast, you're not alone. The HAN Network is available for 200,000 Connecticut cable customers on the Frontier Network. And we've also reached 1.7 million viewers on our free live streaming sports, news, and entertainment broadcasts. To reach our rapidly growing audience, contact Advertising Director Jessica Murrin at 203-273-7312 or email jessica@han.network.
We're back. It's Denise DiGrigoli here on The Drive at HN Network. If you're interested in being on The Drive, please tweet us at HN Network CT and let us know what you're all about. Maybe we can schedule you in the new year. Dr. Corvo is with us from St. Mary's, and we're talking about all things great. So when do people need to go to the surgeon? We already talked about how to avoid getting to you,
Right.
with drinking, driving, texting, driving.
Right. It's also important to eat right and exercise to like stay away from any kind of doctor.
Right.
And I'm not saying stay away from them, but surgery is one of those things where if you don't need it, you shouldn't have it. And if there's anything you can do to avoid it, that is always going to be a better, safer alternative than
Sort of the
anything that you can
wellness.
do.
Yeah, the wellness,
Absolutely, the
that the
wellness.
world has been
Yes.
chatting up now for a good 10 or 15 years.
Yes.
But, you know, what about the people that need some kind of surgery and have been putting it off? Or they're afraid that they don't know where to go, what to ask, who to trust. What would you
Right.
say to them?
Sure.
And what does that profile of that person look like?
Right. So I think the first thing I would say is the absolute last place to go, worst place to trust for any kind of medical information is the internet, because you have no idea who wrote what on what blog, when, where, what their background is.
And what their intention was.
And what their intention was, right?
Right.
The best place really is still your old-fashioned family doctor. Hopefully you've got a relationship with them and you know when to trust them, and the two of you have figured out what's important to each other. Talking to your friends is also important, because they are going to be real-life interested third parties about their experiences. And if they're really your friend, they are going to look out for you better than almost anyone else. I think the main reason why people avoid seeing a surgeon when they really should be, you hit it right on the head. They're afraid of something. It could be the dreaded colonoscopy. Who could ever possibly want to do that? But colonoscopies and even mammograms, right? Women sometimes avoid mammograms because they're afraid we're going to find something. Until we have a totally different way to do medicine, which may not exist for another 50 years or so, the best kind of approach that we have for everything is either avoid it in the first place, or if we discover something, let us get it under control when it's early. So if you have a colonoscopy and they do find something very, very small, that's much better than waiting for a tumor to grow to the size of an orange and now an emergency. For somebody who has a breast cancer, it's much better to find it when it's the size of a pea than when it's already spread. The two things I end up dealing with very, very frequently are people that have gallbladder problems and people with hernias. And I think it's very easy to be told by your regular family doctor, oh, you have these gallstones, and that's what's been giving you pain. And the real thing to do is to see a surgeon at that point. And the patients go on the internet, and of course they read all of the bad things. Almost nobody who's had a really good experience goes out of the way to brag about it on the internet.
That's an old marketing statistic.
Perfect. So now you're reading all these bad things, and you convince yourself not to go see a surgeon.
And that all surgeons are terrible.
And that all surgeons are terrible.
Yeah, which is not the truth.
I hope it's not the truth. No, it's not the truth. And what's worse is they will frequently end up getting hold of some pain medicine. So now what they do is they keep eating the food that are triggering the attacks instead of avoiding it.
And they're into the opium epidemic.
And now they're taking opioids, and separate from the narcotic addiction part of things, what they're doing is they're allowing themselves to have more and more attacks. They're treating their own attacks with their pain medicine. And then they get to a
Slippery
point where...
slope.
Slippery slope. And then they get to a point where things are so bad, they're in the emergency room, and now we're doing emergency surgery. The chances of having to go the old-fashioned way with a big incision go up dramatically. The chances of the pain being so bad you're in the hospital for several days, maybe getting a pneumonia, maybe getting an infection, all the chances of those things go up dramatically. Whereas if we do this under nice, controlled, elective circumstances, we might be able to use the robot we talked about before. We might be able to do everything completely through the belly button. If we start 7:30 in the morning, most people are home by noon, sitting on their own couch, watching your network while they're sitting there with...
Thank you, doctor. That was excellent.
While they're sitting there with an ice pack on, taking some Tylenol.
And sharing it with their friends.
And sharing with their friends.
So this has been an enlightening hour, and I'm so thankful. But now I'm going to ask the magic question.
Okay.
Since you're the surgeon innovator, What do you see as medicine and surgery in 50 years from now? What are we going to find? What's the magic ball? What's the magic?
50 years, wow.
25 if you don't want to go that far out.
I'm a huge fan of Star Trek and Star Wars, so anything medical from them I hope sort of gets here within 50 years and not 250 years. I think the meeting between computers and technology like robotics is just going to get better and better. Our medications are constantly getting better. With any luck, we'll have a chemical that works better than an antibiotic, and it will be so different than current antibiotics that we'll have to call it something different. It will be able to target the bad bacteria without creating resistant strains, which has led to this MRSA epidemic that you heard about before. Probably the big thing is that what people think about as traditional chemotherapy is already starting to go by the wayside.
Good.
Yes, researchers have figured out a way to take a sample of an individual patient's cancer, use that cancer to develop antibodies to that specific cancer, and then with the equivalent of a flu vaccine, inject that patient with targeted chemical treatment against their own individual cancer. And if it works in people the way it does in the lab, it will be able to simply melt away the cancer without any of the side effects that people experience now.
Is that phenomenal?
Yes.
And we'll see that maybe in the next 25 years, 50 years? What do you think?
I think we will very likely see that. There have been small trials already with very specific cancers under certain circumstances where it has worked exactly the way I've just described.
Wow.
So it's already there. We just have to make sure that it works on bigger scales.
So as we conclude, the drive really is about living a balanced life and moving forward mindfully and helping others and all that great stuff. So how does a busy doctor like you stay balanced?
My wife, my cats, lots of naps, lots of reading. I think for me personally, I really, really do love what I'm doing. And every time something bad is going on, I just get a chance to take a step back and say, nope, even if you love it, there's some good and bad that you have to balance out.
And so in the next 5 years, where will we see Doctor go? Because we will track you down and have you back.
Hopefully I'm
What's on the horizon?
Hopefully I'm exactly where I am now. I love what I'm doing. I love the people I'm working with, just on a bigger scale of things.
Oh. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us, Doctor. It was a real pleasure and a very big help, I'm sure. Right?
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, listen, we are going to take a couple weeks off. I'll be back January 3rd. I want to share a quick image with you, if Eric will throw it up there, one of these shameless plugs that I normally don't do. My Daily Drive is now available in 6x9 in the traditional size. We listen to everybody. And I want to talk to you about the new trending thing in journaling, which is future journaling, writing things down as if they've happened. Because again, it blocks out the fears and the worries. So when you sort of guide your gratitude in the fashion, or you steer your energy in the direction you want to go, you open up more opportunities. It's almost like a relaxation. We can say that, it reduces stress, it helps you see your patterns, it helps you set your goals, it helps you be mindful in your life, and it does do all of that. But no program works, no relationship works unless you put yourself in it. So check out My Daily Drive at DeniseDiGrigoli.com. You can tweet me if you'd like to be on the show. I'd love to meet you, and I'm so thankful that we spent this year together. It's Denise on the HN Network, live here every Tuesday. Happy holidays and all the best in 2017. I'll see you in the new year. Thanks so much.